My name is Tim Carter. I pastor Landmark Missionary Baptist Church in Jacksonville, Arkansas. And this is the apologetic and outreach ministry called IamKoine.org. And considerable amount of feedback has been enjoyed with what we call the divine ratio, the 1 day to 1,000 years. So I just wanted to talk about coincidence perhaps, because we have people, as all of us like to do, somehow we're more inclined to just dismiss something, or in an age of cynicism and unbelief, maybe we don't have the interest in something bigger than ourselves like the Bible. But for us, me in particular, I was working in a graduate assistant capacity for a professor of our seminary, and he was speaking of all of these numbers. If we had them, this could be placed into an equation. So how it came to be was, the question was, what we need was how many years would it take multiplied by 360 days. That's a lunar year. That was his recommendation, 360 day lunar, and that's the lunar year. So how many days times this would give us the 4.5 million days which, when multiplied by 1,000 years, would give us the 4.5 billion number. And more interesting, would that number fall within the range of 6,000 to 20,000 years? 20,000 years that's alleged. And then what about this 4.5 billion years? And this is a product of our calculus. Theologians developed this calculus, so this number came from the mathematical field that was developed or invented by the theologians who became theologians because of the field of theology that came to be because of the English Bible in the Western world as we know it today. So the fields of science were produced by theologians, specifically the grand fields of chemistry, calculus, and physics. So we have an interesting thing here. If we place this ratio here, well, this became 12,500, which this is really just arithmetic. It's just a matter of thinking it through. So as I worked as an assistant to this professor, particularly Dr. John Penn, beloved by thousands and thousands of pastors and preachers all over the world, it gave quite a challenge for me. So when I looked at this 12,500, of course he always sends me back to take another look. So the fourth principle in the historical holistic hermeneutic process, which he developed that, or actually built it and created it throughout his years of teaching hermeneutics, I went back and realized that man didn't work 6 24-hour days and then rest one day. We work 12-hour days, so that reduces this time here, 12,500 years. It reduced that to 6,250. I write better than that, I apologize. 6,250 years. And then I recalled what he had told me. He said, remember, it's like 1,000 years. So like, or as, from the little word hos in the Koine text, Well, in mathematics, that's a symbol called that means approximately. So approximately 6,000 years is exactly what this falls into that. So if you believe in coincidences, or rather dismiss things because they're coincidence, this is probably the most powerful demonstration in ratio. We don't know of one that's greater than what the Bible teaches, and because of the historical holistic hermeneutic process, we're prompted and encouraged to, in the Missionary Baptist Seminary in Little Rock, we were encouraged to search the Scriptures and then research the Scriptures. So as we advance in our education, classes like hermeneutics and then systematic theology would be where you really start thinking. And Dr. John Owen's an engineer, so it was quite challenging for us to learn how to have our minds scripted by the text, and then in hermeneutics to learn to include all the information. So for us, the divine ratio is just what anyone would conclude or could come to on their own if you were encouraged to include all the information. So when we calculate in one text of the Bible thousands of years, approximately 6,000 years, and then when we calculate an age using the field of science that theologians invented, and we notice 4.5 billion years, instead of seeing a contradiction, we are trained to see from a point of view from which the contradiction disappears, and that view from which a contradiction disappears, or rather from which a contradiction does not appear, which we are taught that the Bible does not contain a contradiction, that would be between our ears rather than in the pages of the Bible, then we know we left something out. So the omissive error for us in working on 6,000 years and 4.5 billion years was the ratio of 1 day to 1,000 years. I'm very grateful that Dr. Penn knew this end in mind. He had that end in mind, as all the professors in our school would tell you, that they could take any position that's well known out there and probably develop a better argument. And then most of them would tell you that if you included all the information, it would more likely always synthesize through the process of evaluation. So this is what this is about. We don't consider coincidence. We just consider omitting the ratio of 1 day to 1,000 years to be the error of omission that has allowed the great gap between 6,000 and 4.5 billion years. So hope this helps you and gives you some encouragement that this also, like most of the topics we've discussed at imcornet.org, that if you'll use the historical, holistic hermeneutic process, we have a handbook for practitioners, and then you can just go online, watch the videos, and go to baptistlamp.org and listen to the messages. And he worked through things over a 50-year pastoral ministry. But anyway, that's enough. Have a blessed day.